Hey there, audio friends, MrAyrit here, and we're down here in my main basement listening area when I'm listening to speakers. And what I've been testing out down here recently is Fosi's new P4 preamp. So this is a preamp that kind of fits in their line with the ZD3, ZA3. They had the GR40, which I released that review a little while ago. This is kind of in that family of like black with orange accents type stuff. And I guess I agreed to test this. I didn't really need a preamp, but I agreed to test it because I've never really used one, and I wanted to kind of figure out, is this something that I find useful, and do I think that like most people would find something like this useful? And I don't think that's as simple of a question as I initially thought, because I just thought I wouldn't need one. But after using it, I have found some pretty good uses for it down here. And I think it could be something that at its price point of around $150, you know, if you're looking to add a little bit of versatility to your system, or if your system doesn't currently do something that you want it to do, this might be a place to look, and maybe not. So let's just kind of talk about the unit, what it is, what it does, how it sounds, and you know, what I found useful about it. So when we're looking at the unit, the first thing to notice is there are 3 volume dials on the front of it, as well as a little button. Okay, the button is like power, and it changes inputs. The orange knob is the volume knob. One thing that is particularly cool is that it's a motorized volume knob. So when I change the volume with the remote, the volume wheel actually like physically turns, which, you know, I don't know that it's necessary, but it's pretty cool. And kind of shocked me when I saw that happen the first time that it did. So I thought that was kind of neat. And then you've got tone controls. What I really appreciate about these tone controls is that there's a switch on the back that you can bypass them, right? So you can just make sure that they are turned off and that they aren't messing with anything, or you can turn them on and use them, or you can turn them on and just leave them kind of in the neutral position. I mainly used it in the bypass mode. But I did try them, and I mean, they do work. They're tone controls. So, you know, again, if that's something that you need in your system that you don't have currently, it might be something to look at. Continuing to look at the back here, you've got a little knob that switches between 3 different gain stages. So you can increase the gain, decrease the gain. Again, maybe, you know, that's something that you need in your system. There's obviously power in. This uses the same power supply as the GR40, so I don't know if there's other things in this line of products that use this same power supply, but I just, you know, same power supply as the GR40. I thought that was kind of nice. It's always nice if you have these matching things that like the power supplies just match up, so you don't have to worry about them, you know, getting them switched up if you're re-hooking things up and stuff like that. Another notable thing, besides the 3 RCA inputs and 1 RCA output, so again, you can bring in multiple sources. Say you have a DAC and a turntable, you know, those could both go in through this before they go out to your amplification. I actually found myself using it to compare a couple of DACs. So I've got a review that'll be coming out soon of the SMSL Raw Pro DAC 1, and I found it very useful to send both the DACs into the Fosi preamp, and then I could switch between them quickly, and I had them volume match, and then I would just adjust volume with the Fosi, and that way I knew that everything was kind of equal between those DACs, and I found that rather useful. The other thing that this has is a pre-out for a subwoofer. So if you currently don't have a convenient way to add a subwoofer to your system, this would be another option that would allow you to do that. So again, on the surface, you might already have all of these features, in which case you're like, I have no need for this preamp. But again, if you're missing one of these things, you want to add a subwoofer, you don't have a convenient way to do that, you want tone controls, you don't have a good way to do that, you want a remote control, which like the GR40 didn't have a remote control, so if I was trying to use that as a DAC at this setup down here where I'm sitting on the couch, you know, I need something like this. So again, not that you need it, but it's got these things and it's not too expensive. So perhaps if you're missing one of those things, it would make sense to add this as opposed to getting a different amp or something like that if you already like what you currently have. So I think the other big thing that we need to talk about here is sound. I mean, but thankfully we don't have to say much about it. I did not notice it coloring the sound in any particular way. I didn't question it while it was hooked up, right? I've listened to my Songcause DAC down here with these ZA3 amps that I've got running in mono. I've had that setup going for a long time now. I didn't notice any difference once I inserted the P4 into that chain, and I think with like a preamp, that's really what you're going for. Interestingly enough, it does have a swappable op amp in it, so you could, again, maybe color the sound slightly with a different op amp if you wanted to, or change some certain characteristics. And that might be, you know, if you're just changing the one op amp, I think it's just one op amp in the P4, you know, that might make a little more sense than changing both op amps in the ZA3s or in your V3 monos if you're running, you know, a mono setup. So all that to say, I didn't think I needed a preamp in my system, but I have found it to be kind of fun to play with and useful as I was testing a couple of different DACs. And, you know, it doesn't mess with the sound if you don't want it to. So I guess what I'm saying is, what more could you want from a preamp? I think it's a good product. I don't think it's for everybody. I don't think everybody's gonna need one. But again, if any of those kind of niches sound like something you'd be interested in, then I think you can safely rest assured that the P4 is, you can insert it in your system. It's gonna add some extra functionality and it's not gonna screw your sound up. And I guess for me, that seems probably like what you want from a preamp. Thank you, Fosi, for sending me this to try out. They did, I mean, I get to keep it, so, you know, take all of this with a grain of salt. If you feel like I would be, you know, influenced by, you know, getting to keep $100 and some product, then take it with a grain of salt. But my experience with it has been good. I don't really have anything negative to say about it. It works as it should. So, I don't know, what do you think? Do any of these features sound useful to you? Would you put a preamp in your system? Why would you want a preamp in your system? All those things might be interesting for people to hear in the comment section down below. So I'd appreciate it if you'd add those. And with that being said, thank you for your time. I always appreciate you being here. Hopefully I'll see you in the next one.